It's 5 a.m. somewhere, so that means that the garbage collectors are here to take out the trash. But we won't throw you out.
Welcome to Your Trash Pals podcast, coming to you live from Spencer's Gifts. We're here with our Hot Topic After Dark products. We're here with lollipops that are shaped like things. You go on in the back and you tee-hee-hee as your parents are hanging out at Auntie Anne's. And that's where we are. We love to be here at Spencer's Gifts, recording our podcast about art, culture, comics, and whatever little bits of trash we found while picking through the trash bin. I'm Van Notes.
And I'm Wren. And I hate Spencer's. Every Spencer's I've been in smells so bad. It smells like plastic and BO and weed. And I can't stand it. I hate Spencer's. I think it's gross. I think it's a gross place.
Do you think that's the clientele, or do you think they have like an eau dispensers, like, you know, that they like spritz
That's
throughout
so funny.
the store?
I definitely think it's a mix because I know they sell that like liquid fart stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, in their novelty gifts.
Yeah. It's just yucky.
I felt too spicy going into Hot Topic as a youth. So Spencer's was definitely way beyond my comfort level.
So, oh yeah, I was about to say Spencer's is way worse than the Hot Topic. I've only really bought one.
Oh, it really is Hot Topic After Dark. Like, you know, it's where
it is. The goths go to get their dildos. Or whatever else they sell.
Speaking of goths going to Spencer's to get dildos, no, it's speaking of someone who wouldn't go into a Spencer's. Wait, Mey. We gotta bring Mey on to talk about Spencer's. Our guest today is Mey Rude, a transgender Latina lesbian, a writer, and a journalist who has been covering queer media and culture for over a decade at sites like Autostraddle, them.us, BuzzFeed, and Out.com. She currently works for Equal Pride Media, where she writes for Out.com, Out Magazine, and The Advocate. She lives in Los Angeles. I don't know. What do you call Los Angeles? Is this the Big Apple of California?
I'm like
the sprawling apple.
Mango. The big avocado.
The big palm tree. She lives in the big palm tree with her beautiful fiance and wonderful friends. Welcome to the podcast, Mey Rude.
Thank you. Yeah, big palm tree is accurate. That's what we all call it here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the City of Angels. That's the more.
The City of Angels. The City of Light. The city that never sleeps. I think all of those are us. But Spencer, you're talking about Spencer's, which I thank you for bringing me in because, yeah, I have very strong Spencer's opinions also. I was a big Hot Topic girly as a teen and as an emo, 20-year-old. And I never went into a Spencer's ever. For me, Spencer's is like Hot Topic for people who like South Park instead of like pop punk.
It is.
I like the Hot Topic brand loyalty.
Thank you. I still have rewards points,
Yo, honestly, Hot Topic rewards points, they were giving you good discounts.
They were. I got so many great band shirts, so many wristbands, buttons.
The only thing I ever got from Hot Topic were a pair of fingerless gloves. I had uniforms all through from middle school through high school, so I didn't have casual clothing. So the only thing I could do was get some fingerless gloves. That was my only dalliance into the alternative lifestyle of Hot Topic.
We all have our own rebellions,
That truly
if you asked me, I would have said I was emo.
Fedora.
Oh yeah, and I did. The fedora whole thing. I had a whole phase of wearing fedoras.
Excellent.
Ironically.
Ironically?
Yeah, ironically.
Okay.
Did you have a
I got
seatbelt
there.
belt?
A
I
seatbelt?
I had I used to get fake glasses from Hot Topic, and then I would pop out the fake lenses and put in my real lenses.
Oh,
So I
that's
would
so
have
funny.
like checkerboard glasses, or like neon green glasses, from Hot Topic, and then I would just put in my prescription lenses.
That's so smart.
Thank you.
That's wild. So, May, we have our extra special topic that we are very excited to chat with you about, but we need to know you are a trash connoisseur in every way.
Thank you.
You are like, when we started this podcast, I knew you were an eventual guest of just like,
Thank you very
we
much.
will get May on. What trash are you consuming this week? What is
Honestly,
what has
I've been
your
thinking
diet?
I've been thinking hard about this because this week I've been consuming a lot of non-trash, like Beyonce, and my fiance started watching The Bear. So I'm not watching trash right now or listening. Normally, I'm like listening to like Glee covers and rewatching Glee and things like that. But right now, a trash thing that I recently watched, Couple to Thruple on Peacock. It's a polyamory, like love reality show. It was absolutely insane. It was just like, they get all these couples who have never tried polyamory before, and then they match them up with like polyamorous singles who are like pros at it. And it's just such a train wreck. It's just terrible.
So it is literally like you have all these polyamorous singles in the middle and then a perimeter of like couples all like at the bar, all just like trying to like lure them in. That's
they literally have mixers where all of the singles go and like, everyone's drinking, and then the couples will approach the singles and be like, hey, we saw you from across the bar, like literally.
That's so funny.
But they can only date one single at a time, which makes a lot of the polyamorous singles very upset because they like to date multiple people. And so then it's just so complicated because they're forcing like polyamory into a monogamous setup, and it's just nonsense. It's totally wonderful.
I have to check that out. That's so funny.
It's wild. And they're just like two of the like most emotionally immature gays that you will ever see. They are amazing. They're this like hot couple, and one of them just like throws hissy fits all the time. He's just, anytime the other two, like they start dating this third guy, right? Anytime those two guys are kissing without him, he's just like sitting there like,
oh my gosh.
Like he like grinds his teeth and like juts out his jaw. He's just like,
that's so funny.
And he's like, I'm hiding my emotions. No one knows that I'm upset right now.
Bro.
It's really amazing. It's really amazing.
I love that. Is there an equivalent of like the Boom Boom Room? That's what I look for in any.
Just a lot of sex. Like they don't show genitals, but they show a lot of thrusting.
Oh,
a lot, like under the sheet. Like a person will be just their crotch will be covered by the sheets. And it'll show them thrusting on top of another person. It's a lot of that. A lot of hand jobs underneath the sheets also. A lot, it's a lot more graphic than like Are You the One or something like that. It's pretty. It goes pretty far.
Excellent. So glad I have my 1 week left of Peacock to watch The Real Housewives.
There you go.
And now this. That's great. So glad. Wren, what about you? What are you diving into the dumpster for?
So I watched a video about this Netflix show because I wasn't gonna watch the Netflix show. It was just too much. But it's called Deep Fake Love. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a Spanish like reality show on Netflix where they take these like couples who are like hanging on by a thread. their relationship is in shambles, and they're like, oh, what can we do to make it better? Go on a reality TV show. And so these couples whose relationships are in shambles, they go on this reality show, and basically they have these mixers, and they get split into two houses, and then they have these mixers with the hottest singles you can imagine. And then the producers like will deep fake like their partners cheating on them, and then be like, is this real? Is it real? And if they get it right, then they have the chance at winning 100 million. No, not 100 million, 100,000 euros.
So sometimes your partner does cheat on you, though?
Yeah, sometimes they do get cheated on.
Okay. Bummer.
But sometimes it's a deep fake. And I'm like, I can't imagine you coming out on the other side of this show like in a better place with your relationship. You'd be better financially, maybe. But in to spoil the ending, basically like it was very easy to tell what the deep fakes were. So they had to split $100,000 like 5 ways or something like that. So,
everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. But those couples, oh my gosh, it was a mess. I thought
it was gonna be like the Pina Colada song. Like that's what I was like starting to picture, where it's like, oh, you all need to write like a personal ad or something for each other, and like with like everyone like tries to like hubble Eddie. Yeah, that sounds disastrous for a relationship.
Oh no,
I love that that's our conceit.
It's so funny. It's just so funny. And I guess like I know our viewers and listeners are so curious on my this week's RuPaul's Drag Race opinion. And all I have to say is I like plain Jane now. That's all I have to say. I've come full circle. She's not my favorite, but I like her now. I like all the top 3. I'm a big fan.
I'm so glad.
And what about you, Ben? What's your trash?
I watched the film Bros, and that was my okay. I watched it, and I would consider it ultimately trash after partaking in it. It's a very weird film. I didn't expect to be preached to that much in a raunchy, gay, R-rated film. So there was a lot of preaching, a lot of remember your gay history was a very repeated line.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln, man.
It's so funny.
Yeah. The closing, the like whole crux of like his eventual breakdown is that his team doesn't like his Lincoln exhibit for this gay museum that he's supposed to be the head of because he's a podcaster. And it was very much a situation where I was like, this screenplay has seen many lives and has held on to many things from past iterations that maybe could have disappeared along the wayside. I thought the podcaster thing was enough. I thought we were just going to be bringing on gays and theys, to be like, but nah, it wasn't that kind of movie. Ultimately, I was on my phone quite a bit during it. And
very
I'm
funny.
Glad I didn't fall into Billy Eichner's social media guilting of the gays not seeing it. Yeah, it was the Hallmark movie things were kind of funny. There was some things I thought were funny, but it was also very Woody Allen inspired. Like as far as like the writing and the directing, it was very Annie Hall, which I wasn't quite expecting either. I hadn't seen a like queer film that was so directly like Woody Allen style filmmaking inspired like in a long time. So ultimately, I think that movie came out the same time as Fire Island, and if you had to compare those two as like mass release, like gay films. I think Fire Island is the more successful thing. But to the listeners, remember your queer history. That's my call to you.
That's beautiful.
Call to action. I'm so curious what Abraham Lincoln had to do with gay history.
Oh, it's
I guess I have to watch Bros now.
Yeah, watch Bros.
Find out. Or read the Wikipedia.
The movie doesn't really answer that question well either. It's not a resolved thread.
That's very funny.
I would suggest watching Difficult People instead. Billy Eichner's sitcom that he had, Julie Klausner, all-time great TV show. Much better than Bros, in my opinion.
Okay. I will watch that instead. And
great 9/11 jokes.
Ooh, I have a bad love of a good 9/11 joke.
Yeah, it really has one of my favorite trans characters in any TV show. Played by Shakina Nafak. She's really funny. She's a 9/11 truther. She's a terrific character.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
Well, speaking of Abraham Lincoln, I'm gonna open up Jigsaw's junk drawer this week, and I've come up with a new little game for my poor hapless friends to play with me. And in this Jigsaw's junk drawer, I've come up with a game we'll see the success of this conceit. But it's called Demon Twink or Demon Twink. And May, you've written many articles on the internet about twinks with much controversy attached to, I think, all of them. I think the cis gays have descended on you many times.
Oh no.
Well, honestly, it's also a lot of cis straight people who get mad at me when I tell them that straight people aren't twinks. That's usually the people who get the maddest, is Timothy Chalamet fans, Harry Styles fans, telling me that I can't erase their twinkness.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I have a list here of historical figures, and they've all been, and we'll go chronologically through history here. So we'll start in the ancient past and move forward. And all of them have been argued to have twinkish qualities in some way. Some of them, all of them are at least responsible for one death or atrocious act.
One death.
Perfect.
All billionaires are responsible in one way for someone's death. And then you can determine whether you fully believe them to be a demon twink or demon twink. So
of course,
totally up to your interpretation. And I think both of you are historical minded. So
thank you.
The first one is Alexander the Great.
I'm classic twink. One of the all-time twinks, I think,
One of the greatest twinks of all time.
Amen. He laid the groundwork. He, I think he died young too, which helps,
It truly is. When I was trying to develop this list, it was either you need to die young or have really just cemented the image of twinkness, or I have to put the word young in front of their name too. But yeah, Alexander the Great. I think he's firmly twink. He was too calculated, I think, to be a demon twink. But next one coming up, Mark Antony, Julius Caesar's sidekick and lover of Cleopatra.
Definitely demon is in there. I'm not sure if also
but is it just straight demon or demon twink?
Maybe just straight demon. I mean, was he also a lover of Julius Caesar? Was he a bi guy or was he just a straight guy? Because again, if he's just Timothy Chalamet, I gotta say, not a twink. Not a twink.
I think he's in the Demon Twink category because he loves chaos. Like, he literally is at 2 points of like global, like Western civilization chaos. It's like, we killed Julius Caesar and also Egypt falls. And the hottest lady in the world commits suicide. Like, if you're
And
there
all
for
Shakespeare, all Shakespeare characters are a little gay.
Yeah,
it's true.
The internet says it's inconclusive, his gayness, when I did look it up. So, which adds to the twink. So yeah, Demon Twink for me.
I think just demon. I'm still on just demon.
Just demon. Just
I'm gonna stick with just demon also.
Okay. A solid perspective from all. Next one, jumping forward many centuries. Joan of Arc.
Ooh. I mean, the angel twink.
Honestly.
You know, she's the Troye Sivan of her era.
Honestly, yes. That I 100% agree with that.
Thank you.
You know what? She would be someone who would like record a song like Bloom and then afterwards be like, it's not about bottoming. It's not.
That's so funny.
It's about Jesus.
It's about Jesus, you guys.
Oh. Is Jesus on this list? That's my question.
I did. I think I skipped forward in time over Jesus. Do you want to do Jesus?
No, I think Jesus had hairy body, you know, muscles.
Yeah.
He's a carpenter. You know, I don't think he was ever a twink. I think, you know, 16-year-old Jesus had facial hair and body hair. You know.
So it would really be like, then it would just be fighting over the like otter to bear spectrum.
Or he's like a muscle daddy, you know. He's in the gym all the time. He's working out, lifting those big beams, chopping down trees.
But eventually he does like to nap. So, you know.
Nap. Well, yeah, for 3 days.
Okay. So Jesus completely kicked off of this spectrum. The next one I have on here is the pirate Anne Bonny.
I mean, Demon Twink, I would think.
Yeah, I have to agree. The diametric opposite to Joan of Arc.
Love murder. Love pillaging, raiding, all that good stuff.
Crimes, all of the crimes.
Cross-dressing. Classic.
So, okay, perfect. This is there's 2 versions of this question.
Oh boy.
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh.
And also Miku Binder, Thomas Jefferson.
Yo! So funny.
Miku Binder, Thomas Jefferson definitely is a demon twink. And regular Thomas is just straight up demon, just dark-sided, evil.
Very evil.
Terrible.
Conclusively terrible demon. But as of all the founding fathers, he is probably one of the most twink. No?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I will not give Thomas Jefferson any credit.
Is
not
a twink a credit?
Me. Yeah, I love twinks.
To be in the hallowed halls of twinkdom, he doesn't deserve it.
No.
He's been booted. Excellent. This is where you know, we can tie in old Honest Abe in. Was Honest Abe a demon twink or demon twink?
I think even before he had a beard, he looked old, right?
Right? Like, yeah. He always looked old
all the time.
I think he's also always been too long to be a twink.
Yeah, he's like crazy tall.
I don't think he ever had his like pixie-eyed youth ears that are kind of required to build those twink muscles, to build those twink
I would
features.
say or. He's definitely or.
He's or.
Mm-hmm. Or a comma.
Wren, there's a lot of the most cited gay Abraham Lincoln I think theory is there's a long passage about how much of a good time he had just hanging out with his friend in bed or something while traveling. There's like
That's
a letter
so funny.
where he's just like I was I was just traveling with my buddy and we were sharing a bed and it was such a wonderful trip. And
that's so funny. He just had a sleepover. A slumber party, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gay to have sleepovers though?
I don't know.
Now to really mix it up. I think he had a little chaos energy. He was willing to go into a civil war, so I think a little demon ore. The next one. This is John Wilkes Booth.
Ooh,
so funny. Definitely Demon Twink.
Demon Twink. I saw a thing. I'm not sure if it was real because it was on the internet, but it said that the guy who shot John Wilkes Booth like self-castrated himself. So like that guy's a real Demon Twink.
Oh yeah.
You know?
See, have you looked at pictures of John Wilkes Booth lately?
No.
Wasn't he kind of hot?
He's very hot.
Yeah.
Like I was someone brought this to my attention recently and I was looking at it and I was like, oh, he was hot. Like he was hotter than the president. Like
I feel like that wasn't hard though. No offense to Abraham Lincoln lovers, but that man looked weathered his entire life.
Yeah.
Some children just come out looking like jerky. And he was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
I don't want my legacy to be that I was shot by a hotter man. I don't think.
I'm not against it. You know, I think that's a cool way to go.
Honestly,
I guess this is a side conversation. Would you rather be shot by a hot person or an uggo?
A hot person for sure.
Hot person for sure. If an uggo shot me, that would be so rude. It's so insulting.
That's a real tragedy.
Honestly.
Or as I remembered the Jersey Shore term grenades, which I hadn't been brought to my attention in forever.
Terrible.
So this is the last one. If you've never seen this before, you may click clack to a picture of young Joseph Stalin.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Definite twink. Absolute superstar twink.
Absolute hottie.
No question. Killed it in the club.
He is a twink with facial hair. That is his he does
a revolutionary in many ways.
I will have to go with Demon Twink on this one for sure. Just he did love a genocide. He even was a crime boss, which I love. He was also. Have you ever read his poetry?
No.
Is it good?
I've actually snuck this through on my students before, where I had them read Joseph Stalin's like poetry he wrote as a youth in like, was it an Orthodox school or something like that? And then I like did the big reveal of like, and this was Joseph Stalin, because it's credited under the name like Sosello or something. Oh. And and actually he was published in a lot of textbooks that were like, they didn't realize that the person they were publishing was Stalin. Like they were just like, oh, this is an example of poetry from like that region or whatever. So it's just like how beautiful the countryside is.
That's beautiful.
It's very gay poetry. So thus concludes my little game of Demon Twink or Demon Twink.
Yay, good job.
Beautiful. I loved it. It's super fun.
Very fun. I love these games.
I just keep coming up with them, but really that was just the little nibble of catnip before our main conversation about Cats 2019. Mey, you are the preeminent scholar on Cats 2019.
Thank you. It's honestly one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. I went into the movie never having seen or listened to the musical. I was always very honestly turned off by the way that the costume and makeup in the musical looks. I always thought that was very garish and very uncanny. So I had no idea anything about it. And then I went and saw Cats 2019 on opening night with a bunch of my friends. And it was hands down the best theater experience I've ever had in my life. Without a doubt. I've never had that much fun or that just kind of experience. It was life-changing, honestly. It's an all-time a great movie, I think.
Were there normies in your theater?
Not a lot. And so what we did, me and a bunch of my friends got together, and then so a lot of my friends, work in comics and animation, and so they invited the rest of their animation crew. So it was 30 or 40 of us, mostly mostly queer, mostly animation and illustration and art people, media people. And most of us were also high off our brains, I took 50 milligrams of edibles before it. And I was just flying. I had heard Memory, of course, but I'd never heard any other song. I had never heard the word Jellicle before. They started yelling it and singing it every other word. I had never heard that first it starts so harsh, just right off the bat. It's just all of these harsh notes and insanity off the bat, and it's a beautiful thing. I watched it again this weekend and still loved it just as much as the first time.
That's so funny. Who's your favorite cat of 2019 cats?
Well,
if you had to pick one to save.
Mr. Mistopheles he's my goat. I love him. He's terrific. And I think he really encapsulates what's so beautiful about the story and the movie overall. People really decry Cats for not having a plot, which, largely I agree, but also kind of it. But then there's this really amazing, beautiful moment that made me cry a bunch of times I watched it when they all believe in Mr. Mistopheles and his magic, and he brings Old Deuteronomy back, and it's really wonderful. So he's my favorite. I have a tattoo of him. You can't really. There it is. I mean, he's an anime cat girl in it, but I got this after I saw the movie. It says "Oh well, I never was there ever a cat so clever."
That's so cool.
I showed this tattoo to Jennifer Hudson when I met her. And I told her that I love cats. And she was like, thank you. No one ever says that.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh.
And we are a house divided on Mr. Mistopheles' role in Cats, because I, having seen the musical growing up, I was very unimpressed with how they nerfed him.
A lot of people said that.
I was very much in the camp of why does he need to have an arc? Why can he not just be a prancing little twink with omnipotent power right from the beginning? But in watching it, so I watched the film. My film watching experience with Cats 2019 was going to a theater And it was like the second to last movie I saw in theaters before COVID. The other one was Birds of Prey, but which I saw right before lockdown. But I remember being in the theater. I was with my friend Kelsey. We were like, we gotta see Cats. Like, we have to see this in theaters. And I had to like inception that thought into her slow and steady, because she was initially not into the idea, but I slowly like planted the seed that grew. But finally we went, and I think my experience was more enriched by the fact that we were having a great time, and there were some normies in the theater who we could tell were not. They were just like, that was not the film they wanted to see.
I mean, several people walked out from my first screening.
Wow.
Several people, yeah, including people in our group. You know, like there were a few people who weren't with our group, and I think a lot of them walked out. And then a few members of our group walked out too, because it's a lot. I get it. It's a lot.
That's so crazy. I was like, when I saw it, it was the last movie I've seen in theaters. I saw it in January 2019 with a group of friends, and we were like the only people in the theater. But I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. Like, whatever. I didn't have like a big reaction to it. When I heard about all the controversy, I was like, why? I don't get it.
Amazing.
And to this day, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I love the horny Jason Derulo cat. I think about him often.
He's so good. Everyone is so good, honestly. Every single cat's performance is like better than the last.
Exactly.
Like, everyone commits so hard. They act so much like cats. It's so good. And they've got some of the best dancers in the world, like a bunch of like prima ballerinas and like lead dancers of like the London ballet, you know, it's like some of the greatest dancers in the world dancing and singing and doing a great job.
I'm like, it's a weird little movie, but it was always a weird little musical. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I don't get. Like I said, when I saw, you know, the Cats from the stage musical, I was like, oh, I don't like how that looks. I don't want to see that. And then people, when it's a movie, are like, oh, it's so weird. All the songs and the characters and the names, and it's all this bad stuff. And it's like, where were you when that was like the most successful musical in the world?
Exactly.
You know?
And I love the original Cats too. That was my favorite musical growing up. It was also the only musical I would tolerate, apparently. Like, I have all of these memories of making my family watch Cats, and my parents being like, please, can we watch anything else? And I'm like, no, it's Cats time. And
that is gay child behavior.
Oh,
that is not a straight child thing.
I mostly like Cats though, because my full name is Catherine, and I was like, oh my gosh, Cats, Catherine, similar letters. Therefore, this is my favorite thing. Like, very child brain.
I do. So in rewatching it again, I was blown away by like the acting, the choreography, all those things. I really just think it's the skin of the CGI that is the most off-putting thing. And I truly believe if it was all done, which I know why they didn't do it with practical effects. I know hair and makeup would take forever. I know the logistic reasons why they were probably like, no, this won't be practical. But I was thinking about like, if this was shot on like actual elaborate sets and they were like in like practical like effect gear, like how much more effective I think it'd be. But I don't think anyone who did not like it with the CGI would like it, even if it was like, I don't know, like beautifully like done in hair and makeup. So
yeah, I really am like, what were they expecting?
Yeah, exactly. What are you expecting? It's a musical about like the secret life of cats, and it's also sort of like a Catholic allegory, and it's based on poems. Like, what are you expecting? You know? Like, go for the ride. Enjoy it.
Right, exactly. I can't imagine the movie being, well, I can't imagine some changes, but I can't imagine it being like to the point where it's so like normal. You know what I mean? Like it's a fantastical experience. I don't get it.
They already
I do
did
hate
a
the
bunch
people
of
who
like
walked out.
normying things. Like they did like add the like perspective character of Victoria into it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I did not care
they
for
gave
Victoria.
Mistopheles an arc. They made McCavity like a character rather than like an omnipotent, like omnipresent being that like everyone's just like scared to death of, that like isn't even like a cat person.
Rebel Wilson and James Corden have a bunch of jokes that are just like not really the tone of the movie, but they just throw in there so the audience can laugh, you know?
Yeah, they're strange little improv jokes too. I feel like they weren't like necessarily scripted.
Yeah.
Let's talk about James Corden, May.
Let's talk about James Corden. Let's talk about how this is the best performance he's ever given.
I believe it.
It's
a
true.
Low bar.
I mean, yes. And like, well, so in my opinion, the movie only has 2 bad moments throughout its entire, 100 minutes or whatever. I think obviously when James Corden is too fat to, do the catapult thing, and he's like, I'm sensitive about my size. That makes no sense. The whole song is about how much everyone loves him because he's fat.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then right after that, he lands his dick and balls straight on the rim of the garbage can. And that's the other part I don't like. Get rid of those 2 jokes, and I think it's a perfect movie. I would have put it, I did the Sight and Sound poll. I almost put Cats 2019 on my top 10 movies list. Those 2 things are the only reason why it wasn't on there.
I can't stand him as Buster Jones. I think he lacks dignity. And I think it's the same reason like those 2 like moments are like I feel like Buster Jones needs to be all in on his rotundness and like his old school like
it seems like they like missed the point, because like we all love a fat cat. Who doesn't love a big fat cat?
Yeah,
everyone does, and that's what the song is about. Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm not a James Corden fan. Sorry, go on.
No.
You don't love the carpool karaoke's? You don't love
I literally have him in my head like doing that, like thrusting his junk at that poor car.
Oh, jeez.
That is like playing is on repeat in my mind. I don't know anyone who likes James Corden or also knew who he was before the Cats movie, because even after the Cats movie, I was like, who the fuck is that? I have no idea who James Corden is.
Wasn't he on like Doctor Who?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think he's like a British, he's on all the British shows, he's a British guy, right?
Yeah, I know he's a British guy.
All I know is him carpool karaokeing and stopping people in the street for his weird little musicals.
He had a show like, is Gavin and Stacey? Is that him? I think Gavin and Stacey. It was like a British comedy. He was very popular across the sea.
Across the pond, as they say.
Across the pond, as they say.
Yes, it does look like. He's also on a show called Fat Friends, but in this picture I'm seeing of the cast, none of them look fat from my initial...
Classic.
That's very funny. That's very...
They used to love to do that. I mean, they still do.
Yeah, maybe this is
Golden Globe nominated for The Prom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he was in the
my
prom.
God.
He was in the prom doing a heavy lisp, a heavy gay lisp, and got nominated for a Golden Globe for it.
He is one of the last who's been allowed to like play gay so much in his career. Speaking of real gays, Ian McKellen in film, I forgot the Gus the Theater Cat part did make me cry this round. Like it was legit the most like soulful performance I think I've ever seen from Ian McKellen of just like this aging cat like trying to like reclaim former glory. And I wept a gay tear like just watching it, and he's so invested, and if the like skin of the CGI wasn't there, I think I would have been totally in. But
that's the thing. I saw it opening night, and like infamously the movie on opening night was not a finished. The CGI and graphics were not all the way done. So it looked even worse than it looks now. It was insane. Like things were like clipping through, textures were clipping through, and like the hair and the collars weren't always lining up. It was just wild. And like a bunch of us were high, and everyone who wasn't high was like, am I high? Because it looks like the CGI isn't lined up. They're like, I felt high because the CGI, and we were like, no, we saw that too. And it was just like so bizarre to watch, such a strange vision. But I think that also does make it powerful. You know, there aren't things that look like this. You know, they swung big and they swung hard, and I like that.
Right, I think that should be celebrated. Take a big risk. It's better than like getting these same remake movies that we get over and over. It's good to have this like weird cats CGI, and I don't care for CGI. It makes me nauseous half the time.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't.
But, yeah, but I like. It's so good to see a big creative risk in Hollywood when it's so few and far between. Yeah,
I agree, and yeah, it's fun. Like, I mean, I know this movie was like some of the big producers on it are like Taylor Swift's father, right? And Francesca Hayward, who played Victoria, her father was a big producer on it. So like it's just like a nepotism movie, you know. It's just they're making this for their kids to star in. So like I don't want to give too much credit to like the artistic, you know, process behind it. But I super agree. Like it's so weird and so camp. And for them to just release it as they thought it was going to be like one of the big Oscar movies of the year, you know, like released this Christmas, you will believe. And I did, you know, I do.
That's right. It was a Christmas release, which is not like a small thing. Like you don't put a flop normally at Christmas, like, or an intended flop. Did you saw the butthole edit, right? Because
that's not a real thing. Unfortunately, that's not real.
It's not a real thing?
No, that's just an urban legend.
No.
Sorry. They did edit out like dicks. Like Jason Derulo famously complained publicly that his dick was like CGI'd out when they made him a cat. So somewhere there should be, you know, like a dick cut where you can see their bulges and stuff. But I don't think there was ever really a butthole cut.
It was one of those movies when I was watching it in theaters where I was like, this is future queer cult classic cinema. Like this is going to be
absolutely
like in 20 years, the little theater gays are going to be crowded around their hollow vision monitor.
Hollow vision.
Or whatever. They're going to be looking through their Apple lens things.
Oh, yeah, Apple Vision.
And they're going to go fucking nuts when Skimbleshanks comes out. You know? Like, he's such an all-star. When the song Skimbleshanks starts, everyone goes nuts. It's amazing. And he's so good in this movie. Like, that's the thing. They got, like, really great dancers to do these roles.
It's 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, 2 days later, and I still have the Skimbleshanks song, like, just grinding in my head. Like,
a great song.
Unable to get it out.
It's that Jason Derulo. He's so talented. Years ago, he fell down the stairs at the Met Gala, and I made fun of him.
He did.
And then I found out he had like got bopped on the head in a skiing accident, so he was all off balance, and that's why he fell down the stairs.
Oh.
And I'm like, I feel so bad. He delivered such a soulful performance, and here I was laughing at his, stumble.
Is that one of your great like internet shaming like canon events where it's like, this is when I learned not to make fun of others? Like, this is.
Well, I was a bully growing up. I was like a very mean child, and I bullied other children. But by the time I got on the internet, because my parents were like very like, you're gonna use the internet late, because when I did use the internet when I was young, I kept getting like talking to strangers, and they were like, we gotta curb this. She keeps talking to strangers. She keeps giving out her address. We gotta do something. But by the time I was like old enough to get like a Twitter or a Tumblr or whatever, I had been bullied back. And I was like, wow, maybe I should be nice. Maybe there is hope or whatever. So I've never bullied on the internet. I've only bullied in real life. Except for Jason Derulo.
I love the image of you just like going around Club Penguin and being like, here's where I live. Right to
Pretty
me.
much. I had aim, and I kept being like, people. I would talk to somebody, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm from Maryland. I love Maryland," even as a kid. And they'd be like, "Oh, where do you live in Maryland?" And I'd be like, "Oh, here's my exact address. Come through. I'm 10 years old."
If you ever need a place to stay when you're coming through town, here's.
Yeah, literally. I was like, my house is really big. My parents are always gone. Come to my house. So they really were like, we got to do something about this.
So the other, not to forcefully drag it back from childhood.
No, please do.
Childhood, like, slow realization of traumatic events. May, what is your opinion of so Grisabella, the alley cat, gets she climbs into the chandelier that becomes a balloon, and then she sails off into the sky
to the heaviside layer.
To the heaviside layer, which in the stage productions I've seen, she's always like lifted up like into heaven or whatever. And then she like drops back down for curtain call, and she's like taking off her coat, and she's like posing, and it's like, oh, like she's been reincarnated as like a, like she's in her next life now. And I was just like, when I was in the movie theater, I was just like, they just yeeted her off. Like, she's not coming back. She's just on her balloon ride. Look. I
think she's going up to the heaviside layer. I believe in the everlasting cat. I'm a firm believer. I'm a Jellicle myself. I trust that she was reborn into a new Jellicle life.
What's your Jellicle name? I'm so curious.
My Jellicle name is Sipple Saunter. I'm a clown cat.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you. Yeah, right after we saw it, like a dozen of us came up with our Jellicle names because we were just obsessed immediately.
Your Jellicle sonas. That's
has
so
a
funny.
very
I
like
love that
Charlie Chaplin energy of just like, ooh, simple saunter.
Yeah, it's a fun. That's a fun game to play. What's your Jellicle name? What would be yours?
Yeah.
Both of yours.
Ooh, I gotta think.
The first thing that popped into my head, so I guess it's the purest thought, is Chumbawumbus.
That's perfect.
So funny.
That's perfect.
Mine was Winkle Wonk, but I'm like that.
That's great. No, that's the thing. You've got to feel it. It's not, it's a part of you. You can't overthink it. You just gotta speak it out.
Yeah. What was yours, Van? Chumbawamba?
Chimble Chompus, I think is
Chimble
Chompus.
Beautiful.
And Winkle Wonk. It's perfect.
Which I think has like Bustopher Jones energy, but maybe like a reactionary Bustopher Jones, like Bustopher Jones for the 2024 gay, like
so funny. Updated Bustopher Jones.
Chimble Chomp is like shows up at Bear Week, or I guess Cats Week.
Cats Week.
Bear Cats
That's
Week.
so funny. Bear cats. I love it. What would be a cat like in the realm of like bear, twink, otter? What is a cat?
Oh, this is like on that ancient chart, right? There's a like little San Francisco like gay animal chart. I'll do the research. I'll hack the main.
Ooh, hack it. I'm so excited to see.
Like, I mean, already an otter is pretty close to a cat. You know, that's like a river cat.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right, huh? I feel like when I think about like that spectrum, all thoughts of what animals look like go out of my head. I'm like, I have no idea. An otter could be anything.
A lot of cats are twinks, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of cat boys.
Oh, for sure. I'm like, the first cat I think of is a Maine Coon, but I think that cat is a bear.
Oh, that's a bear. Mm-hmm.
But then, like, that little hairless cat is definitely a twink.
Mr. Mistopheles is a twink for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. His little tuxedo, permanent tuxedo.
Very cute. Very cute.
Adorable.
Rum Tum Tugger is a twink.
I'm working on this. I thought this document would be so much more readily available, but there was like this whole animal guide that was like, and it had like, was like lounge lizard on there.
Lounge lizard.
I'm gonna keep going. I'm keep talking. I'm hacking the mainframe here.
So funny. Like, what are other types of cats? I have a dog, so you might hear him snoring in the background. I don't know.
I have another piece of Cats trivia. Cats 2019.
Ooh.
Yes. The scene. So Taylor Swift, you know, famously is in the movie, mainly in one scene where she sings her song and gets everybody high on catnip. And the story goes that scene was suggested by her father, because, like, her father, like I said, is one of the producers. And he was talking to Tom Hooper, the director, and he was, you know, they were talking about that scene. And Taylor Swift's father was like, "What if, you know, she comes in and gets everyone high on catnip?" And Tom Hooper is like, "What's catnip?" This is the director of the movie. He's like, "I don't know what catnip is." And they're like, "You don't know? You've never heard of catnip?" That's so funny. And he's like, "No. What does that mean?" And so they show him a bunch of videos of cats on catnip, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. This is hilarious. We've got to put this in the movie."
That's so crazy. How does he not have any cat-based knowledge?
I don't know. But yeah, so he learned about catnip while filming the movie. The director of the movie did.
That's incredible.
That's so funny.
And led to the most iconic bottle of catnip ever. Okay, I found the source. This took me a hot second, but it was there has been a lot of discussion about who termed the coin bear. The most likely cause is like a section from The Advocate called A Glossary of Gay Animals. So one of them is a bear. There is owls.
There's like a poodle.
Yeah, cygnet swans, peaks and Afghans. Which is a very interesting. Some of these have not like lasted to a certain extent, or they've changed their form. There's marmosets, there's gazelles, which it looks like a gazelle is mostly a twink. But there are pussy cats. So I'll read you some of the characteristics. Pussycats are deceptive since they have the bear look down pat, but where bears are somewhat shy, pussycats have a dry wit. Also, bears are naturally rumpled, while pussycats keep their freshly pressed chambray work shirts neatly tucked, and their
Ooh.
t-shirts are always snowy
Ooh.
white. Pussycats will drink beer, but are careful not to let that can leave wet rings on their Levi's. Pussycats know all about wines and everything else. You cannot surprise a pussycat. So blah, 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 what they eat. Let's just go to what we really want to know, which all of these have mating peculiarities. So, so this really is a fun read. I'm glad I was able to find this easier than it could have been. But mating peculiarities. Pussycats come on kinky, but it's all talk. They're pussycats in bed.
Oh.
They're not much for cuddling. They never stay the night, and you know without a doubt when it's time to dress and go. Pussycats always have lovers with whom they never spend any time, who sleep in separate bedrooms, but whom they wouldn't dream of leaving.
Classic.
So
That's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a pussycat, I guess, in the old gay vernacular of 1979.
Beautiful.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that they're similar to bears. That wouldn't have been my guess.
They're this illustration of them is just them slyly whispering to one another in their like bear garb. Gazelles, it looks like, are just twinks. This gazelle I'm seeing is giving very much twink energy, but the mating peculiarity is very funny. If a gazelle has a lover, he's still having sex with him. If he has an ex-lover, he is still having sex with him.
That's very funny.
Which could be said of all the twinks that we listed earlier, I guess. So,
amen.
John Wilkes Booth.
The next episode, we'll have a roundtable discussion on John Wilkes Booth's gay impact on the. That honestly would be something they'd bring up in Bros. Like it wouldn't be something that they'd leave out. But May, do you have any final thoughts on cats that you just want to express with the good people at home?
I just want to say it is a great movie. I think it's honestly very enjoyable. It's very fun. It's got beautiful dancing. It's got all-time classic songs. It's got great performances. If you like cats, the animal, you should love this movie, honestly, because all the people act like cats and they sing songs about cats, how cats really act. It's, honestly, a perfect film in a lot of ways, and I can't wait for it to become the cult classic it deserves to be.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say for theater kids out there in the future, Cats has all the queer energy of Rocky Horror with all the embarrassing Broadway energy of Rent.
So
Absolutely.
So, May, do you have anything you would like to promote to the good people at home? Any?
Yeah, you can, read my work at out.com and in Out Magazine and The Advocate. Also, I write the newsletter for out.com. You can find the sign up for that if you go to out.com. So yeah, if you want to, hear from me a few times a week in your email box, sign up for that.
I do love having Out in my RSS feed and playing the game before I open a link of whether you wrote it or not. And I think I've got it down to about like 70% of the time.
Excellent. I'll try coming up with some sneaky new headlines. Yeah. I'll try to trick you with these next headlines this week.
Sometimes they put you on some like cis gay like content, and that's like
I've learned a lot. I've learned about a lot of people who I otherwise would not know anything about.
they've I know you're I was like May got that assignment this week, I guess. So or someone was out on vacation that would normally cover that. But to the listeners at home, thank you for listening to Your Trash Pals. You can follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, for all the boomers, and YouTube. Our live Twitch streams are hosted on Mondays, and episodes go up on Thursdays when we feel like it.
You can follow me at Wren.psd and Van Notes on Instagram at Van Notes Books. You can support our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/yourtrashpals.
And you can write into the podcast at yourtrashpals@gmail.com. Ask us whether we think something is trash or treasure. We will probably answer it on the podcast, unless we're continuing our sequence of answering the Aaron questions, which I think we have to take a break next week because I knew you too well after our first round. I was like, now I know Wren just too deeply.
So funny.
I need a break of so much intimate conversation.
So funny.
Our fans will be so delirious with just like, wow, they don't do trash anymore. They talk about real stuff. May, would you give us a number in between 1 and 50?
Yeah, 49.
Let's see. Wren, our sponsor this week is Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh my gosh, I love that show.
And it's your turn to do the ad for our very real sponsor.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Gordon Ramsay.
Well, I can't believe we scored this exclusive sponsorship from Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, a show that is still going on right now on this day. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. You've given us such good trash, like Amy's Baking Company, Gordon dressing up like a grandma and trying ravioli, Idiot Sandwich, all kinds of good memes. Even though I don't think Idiot Sandwich is from Kitchen Nightmares, but it might as well be. So yeah, just further shout out to Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. I love saying Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. It's a fun sentence to say.
I'm so glad Gordon Ramsay continues to this day, and most of what he does in my imagination is just respond to Uncle Roger on Facebook, which
That's
seems
so funny.
That's all he does now is just him and Uncle Roger, the tag team duo of the internet. So, okay.
Good for them.
And remember, for all of our listeners, to reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yay!